Hey everybody, welcome back to the couch. My name is Melissa and this is Couch Mom Club. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about my experience weaning my daughter. And I'm just going to let you know the things that we went through and just give you a couple of tips if you are also planning to wean your baby or toddler. So I weaned my daughter when she was about 11 months old, and I know that most experts will tell you to breastfeed your kid until at least 12 months. Now, most people will say that even when you're trying to wean your baby, doing it after the 12-month mark will make it easier. And this is just because your natural milk supply will decrease after that 12-month mark. But there are some circumstances that might lead you to wean your baby a little earlier than the 12-month mark. Like for me, for example, I had to wean my daughter because I needed a break. I told myself that I would breastfeed for as long as she wanted to and allow her to wean herself. But I just was like, you know what? I need to take a break before the new baby comes. So I was really adamant on getting her off the breast and using a bottle, and I just want to give you a couple of tips on how I was able to achieve that. So this time around, I have actual experience with weaning a baby, and I've come up with a couple of tips that I think are going to be helpful. With Teo, he breastfed till about 11 months as well, but he self-weaned, and that's because I was pregnant at that time as well. And he decided that he no longer liked the taste of the milk and just decided that he did not want anymore. So I didn't have the struggle with him. I didn't have any kind of experience really, other than one morning he woke up and just didn't want it. I had to quickly get formula and give him a bottle, and ever since that time he's just been off the breast. Now I don't want to come to you with this idea that I'm an expert at this or I have infinite knowledge of how to wean a baby. I just found that these few tips helped me. And I feel like when we tell our stories and when we share with each other what we've been through, our different experiences, how we've handled certain situations, it helps others. So go ahead and put some comments down below. Let me know what your experience weaning your child was like. I know that telling your story might be a little bit lengthy, but don't be afraid to leave a lengthy comment because you never know who you're helping in the process. So let's get into the first tip that I have for you. My first tip when you're weaning your baby is to start when you're ready. Start when you're ready and start when baby is ready. Don't feel too pressured by the standard of society that tells you you have to breastfeed your baby until they're a year old or even after that. If you're feeling that you're uncomfortable or baby is becoming more fussy and it's just not a pleasurable time for you and baby, then you might want to consider weaning your child. Don't feel pressure to do things as they say. Take the cues from your baby and take the cues from yourself. If you want to just stop the process of breastfeeding, trust yourself and trust that you're doing what is right for your baby. Don't worry about what other people say. It is your journey, it is your child, and you should feel confident in whatever decision that you make. My next tip is to do the weaning gradually. Don't just go cold turkey. It is going to probably give you more heartache and more pain if you try to just cut the baby off. You want to do this in a gradual process. For me, I started with taking away daytime breastfeeding, and I only breastfed around nap times and when she was going to bed. And then when she got the hang of just nursing at nap time and at nighttime, then I took away one nap breastfeeding session at a time, and then eventually I took away the nighttime breastfeeding. I used to have to breastfeed her in order to go to sleep, so it was really difficult to cut out the breastfeeding at that time. But the gradual steps and not doing it just all at once cold turkey really helped. She was able to kind of navigate through the transition from breast to bottle, and I did that with no tears, no fussing. She just got used to it over time. So tip number 2 is to do it gradually. Don't just rush in. Take your time to really get the baby used to having a bottle instead of the breast, and do it slowly. Don't rush the process. So when you're weaning your babies, you might notice that you're going to feel a little bit of pain. It is sometimes a very painful process, but there are a few things that you can do to alleviate that pain. When you're feeling the pain, it's usually because the milk is still filling up, but there is nowhere for that milk to go. Fight the urge and the temptation to pump or to feed the baby, because feeding the baby or pumping is just going to continue the process of you creating milk. The more you pump, the more you breastfeed, the more milk you'll produce. So when you want to stop breastfeeding, you also want to stop producing milk, because what's the point of producing milk if you're not going to feed the baby, right? So endure the pain. I promise you it won't last forever. You can do a few things like use cold compress, you can use cabbage leaves, and you can even massage or take showers. Use an ice pack. Just do something that will alleviate the pain for the meantime. It won't last. However, if you are experiencing severe pain and the pain is lasting and you're finding it hard to bear, you should go and talk to your physician. You might end up in a worse situation than just a bit of engorgement. You might even fall into the territory of having mastitis, and that is not something that you want to have happen. So if you are noticing persisting pain and nothing that you're doing is alleviating it, go and consult your doctor and have them check you out. Let them know if there's a more serious concern, because the pain really shouldn't last. So if you are feeling pain, use those tips, and if you're feeling extended pain that will not be relieved no matter what you try, see a doctor. So guys, we're gonna be doing Wisdom for Wednesday at the end of the video as usual, and I want you to stay to the end because it's going to be good, okay? So just stay to the end. We're almost there. Tip number 3 is to offer other preferences. You wanna make sure that your baby is used to the taste of either formula if they're not a year old yet, or the taste of milk if they are a year and older. Also, you wanna add juices to the baby's palate, maybe water, just other beverages that might help you to wean the baby off the breast and transition them into the bottle and having other things to drink. When the baby is young, under a year old, you do not want to offer dairy milk. This might cause complications where digestion is concerned, so you want to make sure that you're using the right formula. And sometimes babies prefer one kind of formula and they don't like another, or they might hate formula altogether. Hopefully that is not the case with your baby, but you want to prepare your child ahead of time. Test different things, slowly get them used to a different type of beverage so that you could transition them easily from the breast milk to another drink. Tip number 4 is to try healthy distractions. When you are breastfeeding your baby is going to just beeline to the breast every single time they are hungry. They know what to do. So they're gonna find you, they're gonna smell you out, they're gonna even raise your t-shirt if you're wearing one, and they are going to find what they want. But if you offer distractions during the day, maybe increase your playtime, or find yourself in places where you don't normally breastfeed, like the mall or the library, or just out in the park going for a walk, and distract your baby so that they're not just always looking for the breast. You want to give them healthy distractions during the day so that they're not missing their nursing times. Tip number 5 is to reduce access to your breast. Now, this was really tricky for me and Noelle because that little girl would raise my t-shirt. She will pull the neckline of my shirt, all in search for the beloved nipple. She was just attached. She had no interest of being weaned, and it was something that I did for me because of course I found myself pregnant and I wanted a break between nursing her and then nursing the new baby. So I decided that I was gonna wean her, and of course I'm going back to work, so I needed her to get used to the bottle. And that little girl for weeks would just search. She would pull on my t-shirts, she would lift them, like it was actually pretty funny the way that she would try to get to the breast. So what I had to do is, during the times when she would normally nurse, I wouldn't sit beside her, or if I was down playing with her on the floor, I didn't sit where she could easily access my breast. Another thing that I had to do was make sure that I wore high necklines like turtlenecks or high t-shirts so that she had a harder time pulling on the neckline of my shirt, and I tucked my shirt in so that she didn't get through on the bottom. You have to get clever with these kids. If they want to breastfeed, they will find your breast. So you have to get a little bit smart with what you're wearing and the different kind of accesses that you provide to your breast. So here's a bonus tip for you. Make sure that you're not trying to wean your baby while other possible stressors might be present. If you're planning to transition your baby from the crib to a bed, or if you're moving, or if you're traveling a lot, those are not good times to start the weaning process because the baby is going to already experience the stressors from those changes, and you don't want to add more to the plate. You want to make sure that you're in a calm environment and that you have a little bit of structure to your day. So that way when you're eliminating breastfeeding, you're not adding extra stresses. This is the one thing that your baby's focusing on at this time. Weaning from the breast onto the bottle or sippy cup or whatever it is that you're transitioning to. So try not to wean your baby when there are other stressors present. Do it when you're finding a balance in your day and a balance in your schedule for a long period of time, because sometimes breastfeeding can take 2 days, sometimes it could take a week, sometimes it can be a month-long process. So you want to make sure that you're prepared for that. So those are my tips for weaning your baby, and I hope that they were helpful. I know that they helped me a lot, and it wasn't an easy process for me. It took some time and it took some convincing myself to stick it through and to really just accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. I know that sometimes we can't wean our babies because we decide to give in. And I know we want to feed our babies, we want to please them, and we want them to be happy. But the weaning process will take longer if you don't stick to your guns and just really trust and believe in yourself that you can do it. Again, you want to eliminate all the pressures from what society says. Do what is best for you and for your baby. That is like the #1 tip of all time. And it's a bonus because it wasn't on the list. But now we are going to get into Wisdom for Wednesday, so I hope that you stay till the end and get this wisdom. Hey everybody, you made it to Wisdom for Wednesday, and I'm ready to get right into it. Yesterday's affirmation was, I do not have to be afraid. Now here's a fun fact for you. The Bible says, fear not 365 times. So that would almost suggest that every day of the year you can find something to be afraid of. And if you have kids, double that by each kid, and that is that many more things that you have to be afraid of. I mean, we have so many reasons to be afraid. I will never deny that. My son was actually afraid the other day when the doorbell rang, the dog barked, Noelle started crying, he started freaking out, and everybody seemed to be afraid of the loud sounds that were happening in the house. And I had to tell him, you don't have to be afraid. And it was easy to reassure him, and it was easy to calm them down. But when you think about the things that we have to face as moms, the things that are happening in our world, like the other day, the Asian community suffered a huge loss when over 8 people were killed in a senseless crime. We have so many things to be afraid of, and I can go on and on. But I want to encourage you today that you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to give in to fear. In fact, sometimes we might be afraid to try something new. We might be afraid to step out in faith. We might be afraid to trust our children to do something or make a change in our lives. Like, there are so many reasons. I mean, countless reasons to be afraid. But can we just stop for a minute and just remind ourselves that even though fear exists, even though we do have reasons to be afraid, we don't have to give into it. We can still do things. We can still operate and step out in faith. We can still be brave. We can still do it scared. I hear that statement all the time, just do it scared. I was afraid to do this YouTube channel. I thought to myself, what business do I have in 2020 starting a YouTube channel? But I did it afraid. And I just stepped out in faith, and here we are, 200 some odd videos later, and here we are just doing our thing, almost at 500 subscribers. I just want to encourage you that you don't have to be afraid. Whatever it is that you're facing, whether you are afraid or you think that there are some fears or some doubt, whatever it is, I'm telling you, you don't have to give into that fear. It is easier said than done, but I'm letting you know that if you can find some way that even in the midst of the fear to step out in faith, faith over fear, that you can get some really awesome things done. And I want that for you. I want you to do some really awesome things. So whether or not we're afraid, we know that we don't have to be. And even if we do face fear, we're gonna step out in faith anyway. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I'm so thrilled that we are really, really close. If not, we're already there at 500 subscribers, and I am thrilled. Of course, if we are not quite there yet, I need you to still jump on and join the club, hit that subscribe button, and click that notification bell. We are so close to giving away that NutriBullet, and I can't wait to do it. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter, and I will see you in the next video.